project production and why you probably shouldn't do it. Give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. This might not last the hour now and stuff, so if anyone has any questions as I'm talking, I have the lecture hall chat open. You don't have to wait till the end and stuff, so just fire it up there. And it's more of a chat than anything. Yeah. So anyway, we'll base this a lot of this stuff is applicable to like a UE4 project or a Unity project or something like that. But we'll be focusing on Skyrim. What are the realities involved in making a new lands mod? Now, this is a sort of, you know, that you can go and mod. You could make, haven't got to that pet yet, but you can go mod, you can go learn, you can join a big project and stuff. But when it gets down to like, if you really want to do it, like actually pick a place that hasn't been developed in the TES universe, for example. It could be a small island. It could be an absolute giant continent, Akavir, something like that. How do you go about that? I'm sorry, now it's quiet. I can just try and turn up the Discord on this side. Right, so like I say, it's not your average mod. You know, like you're thinking, I'm gonna, you know, we're gonna hit this. We're gonna do something. We're gonna take on a lot, like the guys at Beyond Skyrim or Skyblivion or Skyrim did, and. So what are the realities in this? Can it be done? Yes, it can. Is it easy? God, no. Is there better ways to spend your time? Probably. But we'll have a look at the key production necessities. There's not as many as you'd think. Unique aspects of Skyrim modding. What are the differences, basically? What are the things that Skyrim modding in particular, problems, essentially, will they bring you in? We'll be looking at it from a top-down level. This is from... we'll say a lead level or whatever imaginary title you want to give yourself when you start your project, Lord King of the universe, whatever. We will be going into some specifics, but we won't be going down to like a really minute level of, say, shaders and if scope or whatever. We'll keep it pretty much top level. And as been mentioned, if you get really bored during this and don't find it interesting, you can blame Pat because he twisted my arm to do it. So, okay. Why should you listen to me? You should see my vest like Mr. Burns. I could sing about production in Skyrim mods. I've been at it for about 10 years. I won't go through the list, but you can see that at one stage or another, I've been a lead at pretty much every major project there is. I'm also co-lead and founder of Thras, teach at the AU, and yep. So you'll have to decide yourself what that's worth, but yeah, for what it's worth. So you've decided to ruin your life and start a large project. These are sort of the no mess and hard and fast nasties you're going to be looking at. These things don't happen fast. Anyone who's been in the community for any amount of time knows like some of these big projects have been going for 10 years more. So you're looking at a commitment measured in years. Now, obviously, that's scalable. So if you're looking at a small island, you know, you're not looking at 10 years or something. But to be absolutely honest with you, like if you're even thinking about walking down this, you're putting the next 3 to 4 years of your life, all your free time, pretty much, you know, like every minute you can have, you're going to have to throw it into it if you want it to happen. It's just the reality. If you're working, then your evenings and, you know, weekends, that's where you put it. You put in any amount of time you can, because it's just how long it takes. Most people who start up projects, they will fail within a year to 18 months. I'd like to tell you this is because of external things or because of technical difficulties, but the reality is the dev team will probably eat itself apart in that amount of time. This is the internet. Communication, it's something I'll bring up later, but like communication obviously is very important. Get off Discord text, get onto voice chat. It's a different world. If you're going to do this, start using voice chat, start using video chat, connect with the people you're working with. Don't leave it down up to text. There's just too much can be misinterpreted, and I have seen so many projects go down because of that, because of miscommunication, not because anyone's being an asshole or anything's, you know, bad or anything. It just, you cannot communicate at the level you need to communicate on a project as big as a new lands project on text. Can't be done. It'll crumble within a year to 18 months. the technical problems, all that's just stuff you're going to work through. Communicate, get to know the people, like really get to know them. You're all going to have bad days. You're all going to have good days. The trick is to know the person, know the people you're with. Can't push that fast enough. And like I say, I've seen at least like 4 to half a dozen projects, really good, like a lot of potential, really good people on them, and they've collapsed because the dev team has eaten itself apart. And it's, I wish I had a happier story for you, but that's it. Motivation spirals downward very quickly. When you start a new project, it's very exciting and stuff, but this ties back into the commitment measured in years. You've got to be a marathon runner before you even consider this. If you're a sprinter, if you're easily distracted, I'm as bad. Like, like it's like that Simpsons where Homer's getting, applying to college, and there's a dog. It's like there's a dog with a ham out the window. This I got to see, and you can't be like that, because you'll bring the whole team down with you. Like I say, a lot of what I'm talking about is going to come from, I don't want to say a lead position, we'll say a founder position, because you're not really a lead at these projects. You're a caretaker. That's what you're a caretaker of the project. As much as you'd like to say it's my project, it's not. If the only person I know that's built one of these projects on their own is Olenfeld, and they're the only one man. They're the exception to the rule. When you bring people on and when you work with people, it becomes your project. It can't be like, yes, it's good to have strong leadership and a strong vision, obviously, but you really gotta, motivation is just going to kill you. It really is, on an almost daily basis. Debatable whether Skyrim modding can be defined as game development. If you're doing this because you think it'll get you a job in the games industry, I'd go spend your time making your CV better, making your portfolio better. It's not going to. It's not going. Todd Howard isn't going to swoop down on the wings of eagles and whip you off to Bethesda because you can use the creation kit. I know there's some people have gotten jobs in Bethesda because of this or that, but like the numbers are against you. It's not going to happen. It's not the reason you should do this. Do it for passion. Do it because you want to do it. I'm not suggesting that, like, oh, people have ulterior motives. Everyone has ulterior motives and stuff. But if you look for a job sense, if you're thinking about this will break me into the games industry, don't go open up UE4. Learn how to use that. This is a decade-old console game engine. There is a lot that's transferable. We do it because we love TES. You know what I mean? If you really love TES, then yeah, do it. If you're looking at it from another angle, I'd really go a different way. And this is back to communication. You will make enemies. Somebody will not like what you said to them 8 years ago on a Discord channel, and it'll follow you through the community forever. It just will. It is just it's back to the communication thing. This is just the way of it. Be ready for it. Don't take it personally. It's not going to make or break you, but it can get on top of you. And I know this is a pretty negative way to start the whole thing, but we'll pick it up and stuff or whatever. But these are just some hard realities. It's the jawline, Hendris, exactly. Yeah, that's what you want swooping down, bringing you in. But I just want to get this out of the way, like just hit the reality straight away. It's a long, hard slog. It is worth it. We'll get to, for me, it's worth it. And I'd say for most of you that if you started, it's worth it. But, it's not going to be easy. But there is some good news. Commitment always pays off. You will never come out of a project the same as you went in. You'll come out better. You'll come out stronger. You'll come out knowing more. Even if it fails, it's not a failure. You've learned something and you've moved forward. Like whatever you pick up from it, even if it's how to deal with people, it'll always pay off. These projects they hit a critical mass point. I was saying there, these are counterpoints to the previous points. At a certain point, the project it won't seem it, but it'll become almost self-sustaining. You'll hit a certain point and the prospect of failing will just go away. You'll have gone too far to turn back or give up. And your team will feel the same, and what you actually have will be the same. It might slow down to a crawl because, people come and leave. It just, it happens. There might be a change of direction, a technical problem that, say a new mechanic that you were planning on, just turns out not to be able to be done, so that has to be scrapped and something put into, fill the space. But you will reach a point, and it's actually after that year to 18 months that I was saying that most projects will fail. If you make it past that and are still going, my money would be on you to succeed. It definitely. Motivation versus progress. This is onto the same thing. Your motivation will go down. It is not possible to stay 100% motivated. On when the real life just gets in the way. You can get really tired doing the same thing over and over. It just happens. But you'll hit a balance. It's connected to the critical mass thing. Even if your motivation goes down, the progress you've made, you'll just have to look at it and go like, oh yeah, I remember why I'm doing this, and you'll strike a balance. This, I guess you could say this is as a member of a team, not just necessarily as a lead or the caretaker, like I say. Onto, again, these are counterpoints. Professional companies are very interested in how you work with others and take feedback. If there's one thing you can get on your CV and one thing you can really push, is that you worked in a team. And I would suggest that being able to turn around and say, I worked on a volunteer team doing whatever you do for like 2 or 3 years, that will probably is worth as much as your portfolio. I'm using portfolio as an example. If you're an artist, it could be music, it could be writing, it could be coding, it could be anything. But being able to show that you have that will get you in the door faster than being team lead, God Almighty, on some project. Actually saying that, no, I work with people, I like working with people, that's why I volunteer, put my own time into it. That will go down well, and it is something you should put on your CV. And again, like I said, you will make enemies. You will have to work incredibly hard not to make some lifelong friends. You will meet some of the best people you will ever meet on these projects, and you'll get to work with them, and you'll get to bounce off each other, and you'll get to create things together, and it will be amazing. So, okay, quick summary of the life of a project. I've never seen anything better than this. It'll start, best idea ever. This is a bit harder than I thought. This is going to take some work. This is success, but around here, this is where projects fails every time. Now, this could be, you could use this as a project. You could use it as a sword you were making in 3D. You could use it as a quest you were making in code or writing, whatever. This is the way it'll go. It's a downward. Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm going to go play Skyrim instead of making stuff in it. It's a very rapid dive down, but if you make it through, you'll be unstoppable. For whatever your personal reasons, once you make it past the dark night of the soul, it's all up, and you will finish, and you will come out of this side, like I say, a better developer, a better person, whatever it is you're looking to get out of this, like of modding, if you like, you'll get it if you make it past there. It's just, do not give up. You will hit rock bottom, but that just frees you up to move up again. It's Batman, it's like, why do we fall? We fall to rise. So keep it in mind always. I pin this up as a desktop in the background when I'm doing stuff sometimes, just to remind me. Anytime you're starting something, a new project, and when I say project, I don't necessarily mean like a whole new lands or whatever, but look at something like this and remind you, this is the way it's going to go. There's no way about it. But look, if you look over to the right, there it is. It's done and it sucks, but it's not as bad as I thought, and I learned something and I've moved forward. Just do not give up when you hit your lowest point. Keep going. Okay, so onto the actual game stuff or whatever. Where do you start? What do you? Where do you? Yeah. Like, it's this whole thing is so nebulous, like between 3D ad, writing, coding, creation kits. I mean, like, good lord, like, where do you start? And you start with a game design document, and if you're a writer, brilliant. You'll probably have a head start, but everyone can write, everyone can set this down. I'll give a link in a minute. There's tutorials, there's not tutorials, there's templates you can use. It's not something new, it's not something I'm pulling out of the air. It's a very common thing, but there are a few things to keep in mind. The game design document is to start your project. It's not a Bible. It doesn't have to contain everything. It doesn't have to have your 10 commandments. It's a container for your ideas. The purpose of it is to rein in your scope. It sounds like, again, doesn't sound like a great way to, I'm going to use my imagination and build a new lands. Okay, the first thing you have to do is rein in your imagination and put some boundaries on it, or you'll just get too many ideas. You'll flood yourself. You won't be able to, you'll lose direction, essentially. There'll be too many ways. The compass will be spinning. You won't be able to find true north. So a game design document, whatever you want to call it, is the way to go. It keeps the team on the same page. Yeah, it's crazy. With all the best intentions of the world, scope it snowballs. So you've got to put some boundaries on it. They don't have to be, like I said, it will and should change and stuff, but you've got to bracket yourself in and say, like, it's like Skyrim. It's actually an example used on the link I'm going to send you, because they actually use Skyrim. It's pretty good as an example of a design document, and it's like, you could see it. We should have dragons in Viking land. Hell yes, that's Skyrim. But then it turns into, we should have dragons in Skyrim, and the player can speak the dragon language, and they can cast spells, and you can fly the dragons, and you can attack cities around the dragon. With all the best intentions of the world, you've just made a different game. Do you know what I mean? You've gone from your initial core idea to something else, and you don't even notice it happening. You just don't. The great thing about Skyrim modding is that you have a lot of the lore. You know what the game is. You know, like whether you've played Skyrim or whether you've been playing since Daggerfall or whatever and stuff. I should have said TES gives you your foundations there rather than Skyrim, if I'm honest. But a lot of the work is done for you. You kind of know you have the broad brackets already done for you. If you're going to go create, I'm pulling up, this is just examples, but like, say you've got, right, going to do Alanor, going to do Hammerfell, whatever you're going to do, you'll have a stat. You'll know what your broad finite brackets are going to be straight away. Some of the like stuff like Thras, like when we started Thras, there was about 2 paragraphs of lore. That was it in like the entire game. There's more has come because of ESO and stuff like that, but broadly you'll know what you're doing. You'll have a much better idea of how to start and what directions not to take. Like like if you're building an elven society from scratch, it could go in any direction, but you know the direction Alanor is, even roughly. You might disagree with some of it, you might want to change it, no problem, fantastic, but you'll have broadly your scope. So be non-linear with it. You don't have to start. It's like writing. I'm sure the writers here now will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, you don't have to write the beginning, the middle, and the end. You don't have to start with the contents and say, right, this is the way we're going. Let it grow organically. Be flexible and opportunistic with your skill bases. If you're a coder, then yes, obviously, start with the kind of code and mechanics you want to. If you have a 3D artist on your team, get them making some concepts and stuff. You'll get them to sort of fill in that part, because they'll know what they're on about, especially at the start. Brainstorm. This is the free for all. This is where there's no, all bets are off. Let everyone like fire out their ideas. Just get them out there, get them out of your brain onto notepads, onto stickies, whatever it is, and try to cross-pollinate. There's a tendency for, like, writers want to write, artists want to make art, coders want to code. Make them work together. Like, get coders to, if there's a discussion about, like Amma, like Hendris's last thing and stuff, don't be shy getting people that you wouldn't think would be, that's not their, what would you call it? That's not what they do, but that there is a huge possibility that they'll have an angle you didn't see on it because of the way they think and where they're coming from. Then get all those ideas out and then discuss it. From a lead point of view, like say, try not to self-insert or dominate the conversation. If you want total control, go write a book. This is a team game. You can fight passionately for the direction you want. Absolutely. I've done it forever. I'll always fight my corner and stuff. But if there's 10 of you and you're the one person going like, no, elves should have short hair or whatever, and there's 9 people on your team telling you like elves have long hair, listen to them. Just listen to them, discuss it, work it out, experiment. This is the perfect time to try stuff. Once these game design documents and stuff are sort of done, you might not have that much time to experiment, but new art, mechanics, lore, if you have an idea for new mechanics and stuff, prove it. If you want shipping or like stuff that we've been you have to leave the ego at the door, Pat. That's it. It is, and it's really hard to do because ego is one thing that drives you, but it has to get left at the door. If you're working on a solo project and stuff, no problem. Like you're the boss, you're the entire team. But when you're working with other people, I'd go through it. It doesn't dilute. It doesn't dilute. It makes you stronger. So, but it can take a while to see that. Then anyway, once you've had you've brainstormed, you're discussing stuff with things got out, you're experimenting, like you're proving your points, be it with art, mechanics, law, whatever. Then you've got to solidify things. You have to be brutal and clear about what are you trying to do with this project, and anything that doesn't fit into those objectives gets cut. You can add it in. You can call them stretch goals. You can call them whatever you want. But for the initial start, cut it. Keep it simple. Keep it very much focused on, like, this is the kind of, again, I'm going to use Thras a fair bit as examples over these, and it's it's exploration horror, cosmic horror and stuff. There's a load of stuff we'd have loved to have done, still would love to do it, but they're the core things, and if it's not serving that, you're making a different game, you're making a different mod. I'll post up these things for what they're worth after the things. There'll be some links in them, but that's a pretty good one. And like I say, they actually use Skyrim and Morrowind and stuff like that as an example of like how to work a design document. Give you some good ideas. Okay, this is just it's a trap. Sitting down, law and writing is the most accessible part of creating a new lands. It's absolutely essential. It's absolutely core and foundational. But a library of docs isn't a game or a mod. It's not going to make your new lands happen. And on that, a game design document isn't a law doc. You don't need 10 pages of law about somebody's armor or a particular faction. This isn't the place for it. Why I kind of bring this up is because this is where the majority of projects fail, because I really don't want to sound like a couple of months to shift through 7 years at more or whatever. So I'm not disparaging writers. It's the absolute core foundation thing. But at this stage, at the start, you can just fall into a hole and say, right, we're going to get every single thing, every quest, every faction. It's going to be absolutely hammered out, nail solid and stuff. And it's a trap. All the other things that you need to get on and get moving and working to make a project work will get pushed to the side and says, we'll do it after we have the law and all the writing done. And you'll end up with a lot of really good law and stuff, whatever, and no way to make it into a reality, because the people who code and do 3D, they'll have left. They won't be around for 2 years while people are writing like every single quest that's going to happen. Yeah. So anyway, the majority of projects don't make it past the stage. It's where they end. You'll get too many people married to their own ideas. So you, instead of like an overview of a faction taking a week, you'll spend 3 months arguing, or I don't want to say facilitating the argument, but trying to mediate an argument between 2 or 3 different people about what way that should go and stuff. That's not where that's not where you want your time to go. This will be your first real test of teamwork and the ability to work with feedback, not just as a lead, but as individual members. And there will be blood. There will be absolute murder at the start over law and writing and the direction. And you'll have to sort it out as a lead or production manager, whatever way you want to call it. It's really, really can be quite frustrating, and it really is important as well. I cannot keep going over about how important it is, but you can't let it be everything. And how to avoid it. Just do a sanity check. Whenever an idea or a document comes in, first question, again, this is from a production angle. People will have different, like department heads, department leads, and individual people will be, they're passionate about what they do. As a lead, if you like, you have to be passionate about what everyone's doing. So first question, this isn't necessarily, I'm being a little bit unfair to law and writing here, but this could be for 3D, it could be for concept art or whatever, code, music. How is this information going to be conveyed to the player? Do we need 10 pages of background lore on what somebody did before they got here? I mean, it's nice and it's good and it fleshes out stuff and it's usually a good read, but is it necessary information for the player? There's a very practical problem with this, with huge amounts of lore. At the start of the project. A single line of text, I'll give an example of this in a minute, but a single line of text could take months of multi-department development to make real. And you really have to be aware of that. Like a simple, like I said, I'll show an example in a minute. Games and mods are primarily visual. They're not huge amounts of text. It's not a text adventure. Do you know what I mean? You always have to try to show, not tell. And your main two ways of getting all this information across are exposition and books. And there's only so much exposition a player can take. And I'd go so far as to say there's only so many players that will actually sit down in game and read 10 pages of a lore book. Now, they might do it after they've played the game and kind of come back on a second run and want to fill out stuff, but it's rare. So you're a visual storyteller. Your team is a visual storytelling team. So start early with that idea. Summary. So what am I rambling about? All departments are telling this story. Use all of them. Writers want to write 3D, editors want to make 3D, implementers want to ease mechanics. And as a lead, it's up to you to find the balance, and it won't be on one. I'm using writing more as an example here because writing is the one that tends to like it can hit the ground running basically, and that's fantastic. But unfortunately, that writing can leave all the other departments behind because they can shoot ahead so fast. So you really have to strike that balance and strike it early. Okay, quick example of what I'm talking about. 10 pages of an NPC background about being from High Rock that end up expressed as exposition dumps, sliders and notes, or more exposition from other NPCs. Very common, and why not? But you could have the NPC sing a song about the Reach while idle, and that's the voice acting and music department. They can take care of that entire background story by somebody singing about growing up in the Reach. Problem, you don't need 10 pages of lore explaining the guy's background, because one or two verses of a song using departments that would be just sitting around twiddling their thumbs at this stage can do that for you. Visual cues, like again, visual storytelling, High Rock armor, Celtic designs, whatever way you, I'm just, again, examples, whatever way you want to go, that can tell the story. Oh, look, that guy's in Breton armor, must be from High Rock. You don't need to say, hey, I'm from High Rock, and give the player 3 to 5 minutes of an exposition dump when you can just have them turn up in that, or have them, whistle a song about Hammerfell, wherever, like for instead, and you get to use more of your team. This is more of a practical thing for those that don't go in between writing and implementation, like the cost of casual writing, or not casual writing. You get your people talking to each other. You need to understand what all the people do and what your departments do, but you also need them to understand each other. So, a simple sentence: the faction have a unique armor and weapons that identify them. From a practical sense, that's 6 full armor sets you'll have to make for this faction. You'll need a male, a female, and a beast version, and 0 and 1 size versions for sliders. Then they have their own weapons, that's 7 weapons, from two-handed, one-handed, etc., bows, crossbows, quivers, the works. That's months of work. That's months of work for a team of 3D artists and concept artists for one faction, when you could work it, balance what you want to tell with the actual cost development-wise. So the faction have unique masks and daggers that identifies them. It's 2 models. You can have a unisex mask, same for beast races. You just need 0 or 1 for sliders and a dagger, and you've conveyed the same. You get the same outcome. You get the same uniqueness for the faction, and the information conveyed to the player for a fraction of the development costs. The 2 masks and the dagger might take 2 weeks to do, as opposed to 6 months for 6 full armor sets and everything like that. Keep these in mind initially. You don't have to hammer the team with it and stuff, but when you see an idea come in, and especially when you kind of go, like, that's a really good idea, first thing is like, what's this going to cost development-wise? And again, I'm using 3D and stuff as an example, but this goes across all the departments. So anyway, this is sort of more down to brass tacks. And let's say you've got your game development document, you've been taking all these things into pat. It's time to get real. And to get real, you want to get your project off pen and paper as soon as possible. Now, this has nothing to do with writing or any other department. This is, you're making a game, get it in game as soon as possible. Having an actual in-game space you can walk around, it makes it real. It's an indescribable game changer. You could have a year's worth of work from all departments and stuff, whatever, but it's still on paper. If you go and make a world space in game, you have somewhere to tell that story. I just cannot get across how important and how amazing it is to be able to load up Skyrim and walk in and go like, hey, I'm walking around. There might not be anything in there. It might be all just plain empty lands, but you can walk around in there and go like, yeah, this is where I'm going to tell my story, or this is where we're going to tell our story. It's incredibly ill. Unfortunately, it's one of the more challenging aspects of modding from a technical standpoint. It's not easy. The guys who made Hestra's Nest recently and stuff, you'll be able to talk to them about this. They'll be, they'll back some of this up. It's not easy to make. It's not easy to make a new world space, even a small one. Bigger islands and stuff. Header again. As a project, when I say project founders, it'll be you as a lead, and yeah, you'll cry more than once. It'll be you and your core group, the people you start the projects with, and one or two of you is going to have to go learn how to do this. You can ask, but I would suggest you are not going to find anyone in the community that will sit down and build your world space for you. Unfortunately, someone's going to have to do this. Give you a quick run through. You'd start with a basic physical map. This was a fun part. It's making out your island and stuff, whatever. You make it as simple as possible. It'll be black and white, black as sea level, and pure white is the highest point. You break it into, I should have put up a picture for this, but I have some now in a minute. You use gradients it's like a topological map, basically, that you see in atlases and stuff, whatever. You start with something like that. You don't have to put in where the cities are or the rivers are and stuff. You kind of, it's just a plain physical sort of map. There's some very good software out there called World Machine, which is actually, the basic version is free, and Houdini. And these are professional height map making stuff. And what I'm going to actually show you very quickly. What we wait for this load. There we go. The procedural stuff, you basically bring your map in and just start, and you'll run all these nodes on it, and you can do all these cool things, and it'll really, really, really refine and define your world space. Now, you don't have to do this. You can bring stuff straight in almost to the creation kit and sculpt them there, but I would really recommend you look into this. It's like I say, the software is actually accessible free. You will have to go off and learn stuff, but I mean, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's plain and simple. So Houdini's another one. Again, the software is free. Yep. You'll have to look into this, but eventually you'll end up with something like this. I borrowed the Hestra's Nest one for this actually as well to compare with the Thras one. So you'll end up with something that looks like this. It doesn't look like much, but all the white things, they're mountain ranges and like black as sea level. And again, this is Thras. Now this is with like a cell grid, basically. I don't want to go into too super detail, but I do want to give an overview of what's actually involved. So you'll probably use like commands like go to cell, center on world, center on cell and stuff. And this is what it's actually doing. It's bringing you to places, but you'll end up with something like this. It's not even, it looks like an ultrasound, yeah. It's not even that easy to get to this stage, but you will get there. And anyway, from there, you'll bring that into, this is for Skyrim specifically. This has been out since Morrowind, I think, but it will convert that height map, that sort of black and white thing, into actual physical game space. It'll make an ESP or an ES. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's an ESP, but it'll make the file for you, and you can load it up then in Skyrim. There's a few other steps, obviously, but you run it through this. It's a command line thing. It's not particularly easy to get working, but you can get it working, and you will end up with your design, your height map turned into a world space in the Skyrim engine. So yep, it converts the height map to Skyrim format. It's called Tezanoan. Again, I'll pop these links up afterwards. It's basically, like, again, there are ways of doing this in the creation kit by hand. I don't recommend them, if I'm honest. Just if if you have someone that can do it, fantastic. But this is kind of how all the new lands mods basically get made. The actual physical in-game world space lands get made. So this is sort of the outcome. This is actually Thras's world space, basically, from the map. They'll be like after the thing is generated, you will end up with an actual physical space you can go in and walk around, and there is no feeling like it, I guarantee you. Now, once you have this map, once you actually have a physical game space, it's going to play havoc with all the plans you just made in your game design document. So there's good and bad to this. Once you have this, you can really kind of, like what I'm trying to show over here on the right, is there's no messing about with where the rivers are going to go. You can follow geographical things, where we'd like to put settlements, things like that, just called port fishing villages. You can work out currents. You can really work it, and it's because you're actually coming off an actual physical game space. You can't go wrong. Like, you could do this. You could sit down with pen and paper or a CAD package or whatever and try and work it all out. But when you actually end up with your generated height map, it's probably going to be, there's going to be differences then to what you were planned. And you can keep going back and regenerating, getting closer and closer to, like you said, we really get it as close as possible. But there will be variations. It's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, this is still the like best. This is like 2012 Hot. Lady who used to be on Deck Creations Forum actually wrote this and stuff, but it is still, even though it's from 2012, it is still you will have to get into this, have a look at it. It goes through the problems. Like, one of the benefits of it being old is that whatever problems you have generating your world space, somebody's had that problem in the past, and like, ask at the AU. Somebody will have hit that problem and be able to point you in the right direction. But there's not that much information out, but there's enough for you to do it. Oscape and LOD, I won't go into them super deep, but there are other things you have to do once you have your world space. Oscape sort of turns your map into like game readable files, like NIF files and stuff or whatever. This is something you'll have to look into. And LOD, most of you will probably know what LOD is. Level of detail. It's usually something you do after you've populated the lands, but you'll end up generating LOD over and over again whenever you make changes to a world space. And what it does is it puts ground textures on. It stops things, and it's what decides things in the distance when they come into view. You don't want to be walking like over your thing and an actual mountain just pop in. You want it to fade in gracefully and fade out gracefully as you move away. And that's what LOD does. There's a lot of good people on the AU that know a hell of a lot more about LOD and Oscape and things like that than I do. So use it. That's what the AU is there for. But there are things to just be aware of. Why did I pick a height map world space as like the thing to put to go around this lecture about mostly? And like I said, it's an old quote. If you want to make God laugh, tell them about your plans, because no matter what you do, it's one of the reasons I say don't work too hard. Don't push the law and your direction. Don't etch it in stone until your height map is done, because you'll generate that height map and it will force changes to your plans. It won't be exactly as you had hoped or as planned. If I'm honest, it'll be better. The physical changes, it just felt done. It'll introduce you dozens of problems. It's like, oh God, we can't put that faction there because now it just doesn't look right, or there's a mountain in the way and they're supposed to be able to see the city below it and shit. But you think of it as an opportunity. For every problem your height map will bring you, it'll bring you more opportunities. You'll go like, oh, hang on, this doesn't look what it looked like in my head. I thought this would be just like a valley or a plain thing, and you can actually go in and walk around it as a player and look at it in game. And I challenge anyone not to do that and not get inspired. Make your writers go in and say like, oh, well, I'm writing a thing about a faction that live in the mountains. Send them into the mountains. Even if there's nothing else there, even if it's just raw height map or whatever, send them in there and say like, this is where you'll be telling your story. And like, you watch that good stuff come out. It'll just flow out of them. And that's across the board. There's nothing like it. Anyway, there'll be physical changes, city sizes, river flow, mountain ranges, even like NPC. The plans that you had for NPCs to travel from one place to another might not work out. It could be a lot shorter. It could be a lot longer than you had planned, and you'll have to adapt to that. Exactly right. Pat just said there, like walking an anvil changes writing so much. It really will. It'll really affect you in a really good way. the real reason, though, to have this is because one of the real reasons is that all quests and NPCs AI work off this thing called nav mesh, and you can't put nav mesh. You need a physical space to put nav mesh down, and none of your plans are actually, they're not going to become real until you have a physical place to put them. And you've really got to get that into your head. You can spend all the time you want doing theory or paperwork, and it's really important to do that. Like, I don't want to, again, I'm not trying to cast derision on like laws and writing and stuff. It's not that. It's you've got to bring it off the paper. You've got to bring it in game, and this is how you do it. It really is. It'll be the single biggest boost your project will ever get. It'll drive home the reality of things to every department, and it'll really, really make things real. And this is the point you have to get to, in my opinion. Before that, it's what'll make your project real, and it's what'll stop your project failing and make it succeed. And I cannot drive that home. Flow maps, Gamma, as far as I know, yes. Do you know Ash used to be with what do you call it, Kath McKay? They're the only person I know that looked into it, but I'm pretty sure that they actually did find a way. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is I'm not quite sure how, but I have seen people messing around with it, and yeah. Again, it is only SSE. I don't think it's in LE. Okay. There's just a few other quick points. I'll open up for more questions then and stuff. But and I'd like to have gone into, go into like the sort of an overview of like 3D and all that stuff. But it's beyond the scope of this, and that's what the AU is for and stuff. The game design document and your world space is, in my opinion, the minimum you're looking at before considering large-scale recruitment outside your core founders. That's where you have to get to before you go public, basically. Like, feel free to disagree and stuff, but I would just if you turn up and say, we're a new project, come join us or hang out on our community server and stuff. If you know your direction with the game design document and you actually have a physical world space, you'll be it's not I was going to say you'll be taken a lot more seriously, but you'll take yourself more seriously. You'll be really you'll know we're doing this, everything looks complicated. The first time you open the creation kit, the first time I opened the creation kit, I closed it straight away. I went, nope. I'm not waiting 15 minutes. It's been loading for 10 minutes or whatever it was. I had a bad PC at the time, so that is perfectly natural. In fact, I think if you're opening up a piece of technical software and don't get that feeling, you're probably going in overconfident and won't do very well at it. Yeah. You take a deep breath and you go learn it. There isn't anyone I know that works with any piece of software in the modding community that didn't start that way. It's how you start. Absolute god tier experts with substance designer and stuff, whatever. They open it up and go oh god, what am I doing? What have I just blown £200 or £300 or dollars or euros or whatever on for something I can't even use? 6 months later, a year later, it's like a pen. And you're just writing on paper, so it is. So anyway, I'll speed this up a bit. It's unlikely you'll have good member retention before you get to this. The early stages of the project. What I mean by this is the early stages are incredibly volatile as a team. The people you start with probably won't be the same people you get to this stage with. If you do, fantastic, but broadly, it's been my experience that you get forged in fire at the start of these projects. You really do. Let's see, what else would I want to go with? Yeah, again, this is more from production kind of stage. You get to know the workflows that people are using, even if you're not an artist. Just by example, if you're not a 3D artist, go and download Blender and have a poke around in it. Get to know what your people do, because then you'll know if they're doing a good job. And that sounds a bit not brutal, but that sounds a bit whatever. But as a lead, that's what you have to do. You have to find the best people you can and get them to do what you can't. And good luck with that. You've got to be really good with people. You've got to inspire them. You've got to get them on board, and you'll still probably lose them 8 months later because, you know, they had a family or they're going to college or whatever, and then you have to start over, and you've got to keep this whole thing going until it's done, which can take years. So get to know as much as you can, become a jack of all trades. Try not to, don't ask members to do something you're not willing to attempt yourself. If you want someone to sit down and build your world space, if you can find somebody, fantastic. But if you can't, you'll have to do it. You know, it's if you want this project to succeed, a lot of it is going to land on your plate. If you have the best 3D artist in the community working for you, fantastic. But if this is about like trying not to rely on individual specialists and spread and document your knowledge base. If you have the best 3D artist in the entire community working for you, and they're banging out tile kits and like absolute god tier gorgeous work, fantastic. But if they leave, if something happens, if they have a kid, if they have to move because of work and stuff, and you were putting everything on them, you're screwed, because that whole part of your project development is just dried up to nothing. So like spread it around. If you're somebody really knowledgeable in your team about one thing, get them to document it, get them to, you as a lead, because not everyone on the team is going to be interested in what they do, but you have to be. So you go, and I'm not suggesting you become as good as them, but know exactly what they do, have a good idea of like what's involved in this, and, you know, get on top of it. Get on top of everything. Don't, even when you, like, the ideal is, as a project lead, is that you don't do anything, that you have department leads and members in those departments that drive everything, and that is like a fantastic fantasy. So like, it's the absolute ideal. It would be absolutely fantastic, but like, it's not going to work out that way. As a lead, you're going to have to plug the holes that appear. So like, you know, get ready for it. The most productive team is the one that lets members do what they're good at. This isn't my opinion. Other people will disagree, but you wouldn't ask a concept artist to code, so why ask a 3D artist to implement a 10-year-old file system like Nifscope? Cut people loose at what they do. It might not get you the end product you want, but someone else can pick up the ball and carry it across the goal line, so to speak. You can ask people, you can get people to do more. Some people will want to, they'll want to learn. Then, you know, send them to the AU, get them talking to your own people, your own specialists. But as a general rule, let people do what they're good at, and you'll just see all that good stuff come in. It's common sense, but it's like a lot of projects don't do it. You know, like somebody might do concept art on, I don't know, an AMA set, we'll say, and you'll go like, well, you know, can you, it's not exactly how I see it, like, can you rework it? Like, feedback and, you know, back and forth is important, but at some stage, you know, you're kind of going to go like, okay, this isn't exactly what I want, but it's damn good. Go with it, you know. And last, just one thing, probably the most important thing that you can do is say thank you. Never stop saying thank you to your team for what they do, and mean it. Don't say, you know, like, don't just say it as casually or whatever. Absolutely mean it, because like these people and yourself and stuff, they're giving up their free time, their skills, their abilities and stuff to make this thing happen, you know. So never ever stop saying thank you for work when it comes in, whatever it is. So, and I know I kind of drifted off into a bit of random stuff at the end, but it's worth it. So, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you for putting up with my rambling, and hope you got something from all this. Yeah, these projects, you think they're about TES, and you think they're about, you know, 3D modeling or writing. They're not. They're about people. That's what makes these projects work. You know, it's always about the people in them, not what they're actually doing. Keep it in mind. You know, and like I say, if anyone has any questions, there's no problem. I think we got 5 minutes anyway. So
Thank you for that very non-boring, and I guess thank Pat as well, non-boring and motivational talk. I have a question. Do you use like any tools coming from like more, I'm going to say traditionally, but not necessarily traditionally, but just project management, like simple Kanban boards, or how do you organize the team? How do you like make sure you and the the team members stay on top of what's going on and what's happening?
there's Rob, one of the other teachers here. He did a sort of a thing on project management. I think it's up on the AU
Okay.
YouTube thing. That's probably worth a look. But there's usually one person that will be more organized than everyone else put together, and they'll be one of the ones that like drives the stuff. Coming from like I wouldn't worry at all about your background, like whatever your discipline is. You can learn this stuff. Like a lot of it's common sense. It really is. It might not strike you like until somebody kind of hear somebody say it or you read an article about it. It might not actually come across that common sense. But when you kind of see it, you go like, oh yeah, like a communication organization. Oh yeah, this is about people. Like even though we're making a fantasy mod or whatever, and like a Skyrim or whatever, it'll be the same. It'll be the same thing. It'll be the same things that trip you up and the same things that make it go really well.
Yeah, thank you. What do you personally do? How do you keep organized? If I might, if that's not too intriguing.
It's a combination of treating people like you'd want to be treated yourself if you were things, and as a project lead, you also need to have a whip. And it might not be the most pleasant way to say it, but if you have someone on your team that's causing problems, you kick them. If you have someone on your project that is driving a department, like literally on their own, you've just found your new head of the department. Like department heads make themselves. You know what I mean? When you put a team together and you're going like, I could really do with somebody to run 3D so I can go off and do something else or whatever. Those people will rise to the top themselves. You'll know who the department lead is because they'll be doing the work of the department lead, even though they don't have the title. I would say be hugely aware of people that look for the title. If people say that, hey, I'd really like to be whatever level design lead and stuff, and you go like, okay, show me, like go lead level design. It's like, oh well, do I get a new badge on Discord for that? And it's like, warning signs, warning bells, and go like, well, no, not really, you don't. And if you've got someone working away and going, not looking for it, you found them. The people who don't want to be department leads make the best department leads. And as a project lead, it's up to you to kind of find them. And like I say, if the team, how to say, the spirit of the team, the morale of the team comes first. You might agree, if there's two people on your team arguing, you might agree with one, you might disagree with both of them. It doesn't matter. You have to stop it. You have to kill it stone dead. And if that means losing your lead key level design or whatever, it's worth it. You think like, oh, I can't afford to lose that person because they do so much. You know what I mean? They'll, without meaning to, it's rarely like spite or genuine hate or anything and stuff, but whatever. It's usually just like I say, it's usually miscommunication more than anything else. But you have to stamp on it. That would be the sort of other side. You have to be both kind and brutal at the same time. And that sounds very contradictory, but that's the way I go. That's the way I'd say it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for these insights.
Now, sorry if I've missed finding people or more accurately how to connect to people who could be interested. The building a team. This is actually something myself and Pat have been talking about. Like how do you not necessarily just like how do you put a team together? The topic of your project, what the lands you're making and stuff, they'll draw certain people to them because they'll be interested in it. Other than that, you have to go recruit. If you need a concept artist or 3D artist, you have to get on ArtStation. You have to send out 20 to 30 DMs on it because they'll only if you send more than that, it thinks you're a bot. Do you know what I mean? There's actually a limit on the amount of DMs you can send in a day on ArtStation. But you go through ArtStation, you look at people and you go like, their art style like really would suit us. Then you look at how many followers they have, and if they're a professional person with 40,000 followers, you're not going to get them. However, if they're a university student or someone starting out with 100 or 2 followers, send them what's the worst they can say? They can say, no thanks, I'm not interested. Or you could end up with like one of the best concept artists you've ever come across. And the same for 3D. And it would be the same for all of them. There's voice acting discords, there's level design discords. There's resources out there for you to find people, but you have to go hunt them. You can put out adverts, usually like recruitment. I shouldn't say adverts, but you can. Yeah, no, I suppose they are adverts. You can go and put up a recruitment post somewhere, even at the AU or whatever, wherever you hang out in Discord. You might get 1 or 2 replies. You have to be proactive. If you need a coder, you go find one. If you need concept artists, you go to ArtStation and you pound the concept artist that you like and hear about. If they say no, it really is. It's the worst. What's the worst that could happen? They could say no. If you get them into a conversation, talk to them, get your, if you have passion for the project, get it across. They'll pick up, people will pick up in a second if you're, I was going to say for real, but it's not that. They'll pick up if you're burnt out and cynical and not really in it anymore, and they'll go like, it's probably not for me. But if you're honest about your passion and how how much you love this shit, basically, stuff, whatever, that'll come across, and people go like, yeah, I feel the same. So let's see what we can do together. Lone person, how would a lone person go about building a project by themselves? It's not easy. Have a very small scope. Start with smaller things. You're going to have to cover so many things. So, like, the first thing is do your game dev document, and then probably cut it in half, if not quarter it. Because as a lone person, it depends on, if you're just planning a small island. Even a small island, God, it would be an awful lot for one person. A new lands mod, of a fairly large thing. Again, like I say, Oldenveld is the only one I know. It's the only one-man project I know. You're going to have to go learn 3D. You're going to have to learn level design. You're going to have to learn nav meshing. You're going to have to learn coding, quest coding, mechanics, weathers. God, it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. It can be done. But I'd start small and see how far you can get with that small thing. Maybe expand on something in Skyrim, like add a house. It might not sound that exciting, but it'll prove to yourself that you can do it. Add a house with a trader in, like a new house of a trader or whatever in Riften or somewhere, and see, can I get that working? Can I do everything involved just to put one house with one NPC in it that has all the coding behind it to allow them to trade with the player? Start with something like that, and it'll snowball. Yeah, Forcefield is like a one-man army, basically. So yes, of course, yeah. DMs will ping me here at the AU, and no problem at all. Okay, no, thank you for putting up with me. So I'll talk to you soon.